Good morning, all my sweet friends, pals, and confidants. Well, it's been a week since we've seen each other, and I have been working on the request to do Ruth. Now, this is going to be a very short study. The book of Ruth is only 4 chapters long, so we could do it in a week. I don't know. I kind of have some ideas, but I don't know how long it'll take. I haven't done an outline or anything. I did purchase 2 books. This one is Bible Study Ruth, Echoes of Christ and Our Kinsman Redeemer by Darlene Schacht. And it's got some really pretty pictures in it. Isn't that a pretty picture? But the Bible doesn't say anything in here that Ruth was pretty. She just may have been a normal girl just like you and me. And then I ordered this one. This is Dale and Sandy Larson, Ruth, Rescued by the Redeemer by Life Guide Bible Studies. And I've been working on the questions and answers in there because this is for me. These studies that I'm doing, they're for me. I'm sharing them with you because that'd be kind of selfish of me to do all this studying for just me. I should share it with you. So that's what I'm doing. So in this next week or two, probably 2 weeks or week and a half that we go through Ruth, I want you to be thinking about what we're going to do next. I do have some ideas. Since we did 2 books in the in the New Testament, we did Acts and Romans, and now we're doing Ruth. We could do Esther, stick with the woman. Esther is a beautiful study. But let me know what you would like to study next. Esther, again, would not take very long because it's a very short book. Along the lines of Esther, there was a movie that came out when I was living in North Carolina the first time called One Night with the King. And I had been talking with Vicky, one of my 2 BFFs, and she had told me about this movie. So one night I'd gotten off work at 7 and I didn't really want to go home, but I didn't have energy to do anything. So I went and got a burger and decided to go to the movie. And Vicky had recommended this movie called One Night with the King. I thought, okay. Girls, if you have not seen that movie yet, you need to look it up. I don't know if it's on Netflix or I'm absolutely positive it's out there. Maybe on the Angel channel. But it's called One Night with the King. It's the story of Esther, and it is true to the Bible story. There are extra things added in there for artistic value. But when I tell you that I renamed that king, King Xerxes, to King Yum Yum, you'll see why. Oh my goodness. I could see why Esther fell in love with him at first sight. He was gorgeous. Ugh. And I was young then, so woo-hoo! Made me all steamy. I'm not kidding. I was going to say I'm kidding, but I'm not kidding. He was gorgeous. So go see Esther and King Yum Yum, or don't go see it. Download it and see it on, I don't know. I'll look it up, and when we pick up tomorrow, let me write myself a note. Okay. One Night with the King. And I'll let you know where you can see that. I'm pretty sure you can see it for free on one of these channels, Prime or Netflix or one of them. I'll find out where all it's at and let you know. But that's a really good movie to watch if you want to see the story of Esther. Now, it goes a lot deeper about God protecting the Israelites through this one woman who God put in a place, and the whole thing about Israel can be, or the whole thing about Esther can be signed up, can be brought down to one sentence. She was made for a time as this. I'll find the quote. I'll let you know that tomorrow too. But I don't know. I don't know if you want to do Esther, if you want to look into Job. Job is a good book. Oh my goodness, there's so many. We're not going to do Daniel because that is way too deep for me. A lot of eschatology in Daniel. If you don't know what eschatology means, it means the study of end times. And maybe someday I'll feel courageous and do a study on end times. I have been studying the end times for about the last 20 years, and I'm extremely knowledgeable, but it's a lot. And for some of you, it may be scary. If you don't have your life in order, sweetie, I'm telling you, get it in order right now, because Jesus is coming back soon. I've been saying this for the last 6 or 7 years. The first time I quit work and was able to really, really get into the Word and study hard. Ever since then, I've been of the great opinion that He is coming back any day now. And every day I can feel, obviously I'm not stupid, every day He's closer and closer, but every day in the news, more and more things are happening that are exactly as the Bible predicted. It's all in the Bible. Oh my goodness, how people don't see it. How these governments don't see it. It's all right there. Anyway, I had the best breakfast this morning. I had made pumpkin bread. And if y'all knew my friend, Lillian Hart, I had called Marcia, I think it was 2 years ago. I said, I want your pumpkin bread recipe. And she said, oh, really? It's Lillian Hart's recipe, but she would send it. So she emailed it to me and I printed it out. And I've been using it. You can see it's all marked up. And actually, some of these marks might be Marcia's, but it's got some stains on it that obviously weren't from the printer. The printer doesn't print stains on the back too. So yeah, some of these stains are mine, but this is a recipe that I got from Marcia that was Lillian Hart's. And I made pumpkin bread yesterday. I made 2 loaves. I gave one to my stepdaughter and I sent one with my husband to work today. But I kept a piece of the one that I sent with him to work. Put a little cream cheese on it. I had a caramel macchiato. I found, oh goodness, I meant to bring it. Genevia. Let me find it real quick. It was BOGO. So I got 2 of them. And other than the fact that it's not made by a barista, and I made it at home, it's definitely as good as Dunkin'. I know there's a big fight over Dunkin' and Starbucks. Sorry, I vote Starbucks hands down. They are much, much better than Dunkin'. I know a lot of y'all love Dunkin', and Dunkin' is cheaper, but nothing beats a Starbucks caramel macchiato with an extra shot and almond milk. In case you want to know how I drink my coffee. So this is really cool because it comes with this little flavor packet. It's got the dried milk and the caramel flavoring in it, made from real milk. So it's probably why I'm had an upset stomach because I do have some lactose issues. So it was BOGO at Publix. So I bought 2 of these, or my husband bought them for me. But it's really, really good. Really good. So I had that with my pumpkin bread this morning. Anyway, Ruth. Who wrote the book of Ruth? We don't know. Whoever wrote it did not give himself credit. The prevailing thought, and with the people that know, believed that it was Samuel, the prophet. Remember Samuel? He's the one that God said the people of Israel were adamant they wanted a king. Now, during the book of Ruth, there were no kings. It was ruled by judges and clan leaders, but the people clamored for a king. Other people had a king, and they saw it, and they wanted a king. So Samuel, by God's direction, anointed Saul. Unfortunately, Saul let the power go to his head, and God turned away from Saul, and Samuel, this same Samuel, anointed David. If you've been watching this show, House of David, he's the old man with the long braid that anointed David above all his brothers. So that being said, Ruth, if you didn't know, is the great-grandmother of David. I know! Actually, I did know. Yeah, she was his great-grandmother, and Ruth was a Moabite. Do you know who the Moabites were? Do you remember back? Abraham? Remember Abraham? When God told him to leave his country, he took his wife Sarah, took some servants, and he took his nephew Lot. Lot, eventually their families grew, they got more servants, and their people started fighting each other. And so when they got to the promised land, Abraham said, you want left, you want to the right, what do you want? You take whatever you want, I will take what's left over. Lot decided to go in the most fertile area, of course. And he got mixed up in that Sodom and Gomorrah mess. So when God destroyed Sodom and Gomorrah, he had taken Lot out with Lot's wife and his 2 daughters. Now Lot's wife, they were instructed to leave Sodom and to not look back. Now this is a wild story, but it's the Bible, so I believe it's true. I don't know how, why, I don't know anything about it. I have not studied it. Maybe someday I will. It's not of great interest to me that I have to know why, how, what. But anyway, Lot's wife turned around to look and turned into a pillar of salt. She just, and she was a pillar of salt. She was disintegrated. Kind of reminds me of those old movies of the atomic bomb, and people are just blown to dust. Maybe it was that kind of a thing. I don't know. But anyway, one night they had gone to a city, and Lot was scared and said, no, he got scared. So they went to live in a cave, and Lot's daughters did a very bad thing. They got their dad drunk, so drunk that he didn't even know what he was doing. Not that that's a great excuse, but I've never been that drunk. I'm not a drinker. I don't drink. I did when I was younger, now and then, and realized that I am my father's daughter, and I could easily become an alcoholic. So I decided at a very young age that I would not drink. Have I drank occasionally since then? Yeah, not something I'm pretty proud of at all. Sorry, I'm messing with this thing. But yeah, I can't drink. I have that alcoholism gene in my DNA, so the washing machine. I was like, what is that noise? So I don't drink. So anyway, Lot was so drunk that he slept with his daughters. And they did it on purpose. They purposely got their dad drunk and seduced him, and he slept with them, and they got pregnant. And that was their goal, to get pregnant and have children, because they thought, living in this cave, we're never going to meet men, we're never going to get married, we're never going to have children. So they had two children. They each had a child by their father. One of the daughters, her baby is the start of the Moabites. And Ruth was a Moabite. So Ruth is a descendant of Lot, who was Abraham's nephew. So a little background on Ruth. The Moabites were not good people. They were, they sacrificed children. If you watch that old movie about Ruth, she was not a Moabite priestess. She was never, at least the Bible doesn't say it, and we can't assume something that the Bible doesn't say. So we don't, the movie, it makes her a Moabite priestess at a young age. She was supposed to be a child sacrifice, but she developed a blemish at the last moment, and that saved her. The Bible does not say that. The Bible does not say she was beautiful. We all like to think that she was, but we don't know. She could have been just as ordinary as you and I. Not to say that she was ugly, because probably not ugly, because Boaz was attracted to her right away. But I think he was attracted to her spirit, to who she was, to her love and devotion to her mother-in-law, for coming to a country where she didn't know anybody. And she probably did know this, because Ruth, or Naomi, her mother-in-law, probably gave her the heads up that she was going to be, not only was she going to be an outsider, but she was going to be treated like an outsider. She was going to be treated very badly, and she was. So the characters in Ruth, and we know who Ruth was, I have a list of the characters in here and what their names mean. Now these names are very telling, especially Ruth's husband and brother-in-law, Naomi's sons. Mahlon, which was Ruth's first husband, his name was Sick or Sickly, and he did die young. The Bible doesn't say what he died of, but he died young. His brother, Orpah's husband, his name, Chilion, meant wasting away. Is that not funny? Naomi meant pleasant or gentle, and I'm sure she was, because that's why Ruth and Orpah loved her so much and were so faithful to her. You're not going to be faithful and loving to somebody that treats you bad. So chances are Naomi was very kind and sweet to her daughters-in-laws. The name Ruth means friend or friendship. Boaz, who she married, and David came, and Jesus eventually came from her line with Boaz. Boaz's name means strength. I like that. My husband's name is Clarence Oscar. He goes by CO. And he's 68 years old, but he's one of the strongest men I know. He doesn't look or act like a 68-year-old. He's, of course, he's balding, and his hair is the same color as mine, what hair he does have. But he's very, very strong physically and spiritually. I knew how to say this yesterday. Elimelech. Elimelech was Naomi's husband, Ruth's father-in-law. His name means my God is king. Isn't that cool? My God is king. Elimelech. Orpah, the other daughter-in-law, the one that was married to Chilion, her name means stiff-necked. And then there was Obed, who was worked for Boaz, and his name meant servant. Obed, who was a servant, his name meant servant, means servant. And then there's one name in here that Naomi changed her name to. When she got to Bethlehem, she changed her name to Mara. And she changed it because of the meaning of the name. Mara means bitter. And Naomi had a really hard time, felt like God had abandoned her when he took away not only her husband, which happens, one of us is going to die first. And back in those days, a lot of times it was the man, because let's face it, men do stupid things and they die earlier. So we don't know why or how Elimelech died, but we know that he died and left her with just her sons. And it wasn't long after that that both of her sons died. We don't know if they died like in a flu epidemic or what. We just know that they died and left 3 widows, 3 women who couldn't support themselves and decided to make some changes. I'm going to go ahead and tell you a little bit about the story. I think tomorrow I'm going to read the entire book of Ruth, and then we'll get into splitting it up and talking about what all it means, and you can study along with me. But Naomi had heard that the whole reason they were in Moab was because there was such a famine in Bethlehem and the surrounding area. They could no longer support themselves. They weren't rich people to begin with, and so they picked up their family. Their boys were still young, and they moved to Moab. And Moab is where the boys met Ruth and Orpah and married them. Thank goodness they didn't have children. I don't know if they were considered childless, but I mean, they were childless, but whether the women were considered barren, I don't know. All I know is they did not have children. I don't know how long they were married, but we'll look into that, see if there's any clues in the Bible as to how long they were married without having children. It could be that these 2 men were just not healthy men and didn't have good sperm counts. That can affect the ability to have children. But we know that Ruth eventually did have at least 1 child, and that was the grandfather of David. So Naomi decided to return to Bethlehem, and Ruth and Orpah were going to go with her. And they packed up and they started out. And why can't I ever remember her name? Naomi said, "Girls, you need to go back to your family. I'm too old. I can't have sons for you." Because the tradition was that if a family member died, then another male would take over and marry the widow, and their first child would be considered the child of the man that died. And Naomi was like, I don't have any more sons. My washing machine's set. I don't have any more sons. I'm too old to get married. And even if by some miracle like Sarah, I got pregnant and had a baby. Are you really going to wait for this child to grow up? And which one is he going to marry? So she encouraged them to return to their parents' home where they could possibly find love and remarry. And they wouldn't be destitute. They would be with their families. So Orpah decided, she thought that that's what she should do. She felt in her spirit that that's what she should do, was to return to her family in Moab. But Ruth said, no, I'm not leaving you. Ruth truly, truly loved Naomi. Maybe Ruth had a bad home life. Maybe not. Maybe she had wonderful, loving parents, but she felt, butterfly. She felt loyal to Naomi and felt probably the Spirit of God in her telling her, stay with Naomi. She didn't know what the future was going to hold. She knew that there was food in Bethlehem, but she also knew that her mother-in-law was destitute. She had no money. She had nothing. So they were going to return to Bethlehem empty-handed, and we're going to have to find shelter and food. Sorry, I'm distracted by a butterfly. I bought a milkweed plant, and until today it has blooms on it. And until today, I had not seen a butterfly. I bought that plant so that I could attract butterflies. I love butterflies. I also have a, hummingbird feeder out there, because I would love to see some some little tiny birds, hummingbirds. I'd love to see some out there, but I haven't seen that, just my one butterfly. Anyway, they go on, Ruth and Naomi go on to Bethlehem. They settle down there. Of course, Ruth is treated as an outsider. She's not an Israelite. She's from people who worship idols. And so she's treated very badly. But she goes to, after the farmers cut their wheat, there's always wheat left over. And in the Bible, it specifically tells people to leave, don't go and pick up every grain of wheat or whatever you're farming. Don't pick up leave it for the widows and orphans and, what is the word that they used? Outsiders, people. Yeah, I don't know. Anyway, the Old Testament, probably Deuteronomy, tells the people of Israel, leave some so that the poor have something. And so that's what Ruth was doing. She was going and gleaning after the harvesters to get enough grain so that her and Ruth could eat. Either she was going to sell it or she was going to grind it up herself and make it into bread. I don't know. But she did very well with it. She worked very hard. She didn't take breaks. And Boaz noticed this, and he kind of had a soft spot for her in his heart. And that's as far as I'm going to go right now. The rest of the story we'll tell later. Like I said, tomorrow I'm going to go ahead and read the book of Ruth. I got my Bible already, got the marker now there on Ruth. So tomorrow we will read the book of Ruth, and we'll get into the details on why was this love story, the love of two women for each other, not a bad kind of love, a mother-daughter kind of love, and then a love of a man and a woman, and God's love for us. It's all in that one little book, and we're going to learn about it. So if you're interested, if you're excited about learning about the book of Ruth and what it means to us and how it relates to Jesus, did you know that? It does, and I'm excited about telling you about it. So join me tomorrow as we read through the book of Ruth, and then we will chop it up little by little every day. Probably not every day because Thursday's Thanksgiving. Can you believe it? So I may or may not do a video on Thursday. My husband will be off. And he loves to sleep in the morning. He's a night owl. I'm an early bird. So the thing that does give us some of our free alone time. I get my alone time in the morning. He gets his alone time at night. So, okay, I'm going to get this video downloaded. It went half an hour. Not what I expected. I figured this introduction to Ruth would only take a couple of minutes and I'd have to do some filler. Well, I did some filler, all right. So let me know what you would like to study after Ruth. Like I said, I do have some ideas. Esther or Job, or study the life of David, or the story of Deborah. I could teach you about Deborah. I just taught a class last year on Deborah. Was it last year? Yeah, right about this time. Maybe more January, February. I was teaching on Deborah, but that would be a short one too. Just let me know what you decide, and I'll let you know what we're going to study next. So I hope you all have a wonderful day. It's Monday. Monday, November 24th. Tomorrow's my son's birthday. He's going to be 48. I'm so old. Anyway, I love y'all. Michael, if you're watching this, happy birthday in the morning. Actually, it'd be afternoon. You were born in the evening. Was that you or was that Ricky? It was you. You were born in the evening. We had stopped at Long John Silver's and got food, but I didn't get any because I was already in labor. And we made it to the hospital with about an hour to spare. I was waiting on your dad to get home from work, and he wanted to have dinner. Finally, I was screaming at him, we gotta go to the hospital. Good thing we did, because you were born an hour later. Anyway, I love you all. Happy birthday, Michael. If any of you watch this through to the end, wish Michael Farmer a happy birthday. Happy 48th birthday. Love y'all. Bye.